West Indies failed to protect 222 and give up 267. Welcome to talkSPORT.
You know what, it's the ebb and flow of watching West Indies. Before this series started, I said to Harmy that I thought West Indies were favourites for this series, and after the first two games I was waiting for Harmy to come in for the fourth game to laugh in his face. But going into the decider, I think England have found, I don't know how England have done it, but they seem to have found something that clicks. I still don't think England necessarily know what their best side is, particularly with the ball, but clearly West Indies have an issue with the ball, which is a deeper issue than England. And I think if any T20 side in any form of cricket, whether internationally, franchise, if you can't take wickets in the power play and you've got very ropey death bowling, you're probably gonna lose 9 times out of 10 unless the other side has an absolute stinker. And it's kind of been a perfect storm. As West Indies have struggled, England have found their own mojo. But I still think this is fundamentally two flawed sides, but England are certainly in a better shape than West Indies.
Have West Indies gone against the method that seemed to suit them quite well in the first two matches, especially with the bowling? I mean, they went with 5 bowlers in the first 2 matches, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an aberration that giving up 223, that just shouldn't have happened, should it?
No, and I think if England win that final game, we'll go back to that third one and say once West Indies couldn't defend 2-2-3 and England won, England got the momentum. I don't know where you all stand on the idea of momentum being massive in sport, but it's certainly, if you go back to the kind of pictures from that win, it meant a lot to Phil Salt and Harry Brook to chase that down. And in this fourth T20 today, you just sense that England had a bit about them. West Indies at no point had this game under control. And it's going to take an awful lot for them to turn it around. They can't call new players in, so they're going to have to hope that Romario Shepherd is fit. Can't believe I'm ever would get to this point in my life where that's where I'm at.
Here we are.
I think that when you look at the way, for me, there's a big key factor here from a West Indies point of view if they wanted to win the series. And he's been expensive in this series, but he's took wickets, and that's Alzarri Joseph. I think he would have got wickets on that surface. I think he would have bowled in an area where it wouldn't have been as easy for England to find the boundary at will as the way they did. And to not have him in the deciding game, that could be a huge loss. The fact that the West Indies have used 5 bowlers in the first 2 games, I think are largely down to the fact that they were fit, they were strong, and as the series is played over the course of every other day, the likes of Russell, who hasn't bowled a great deal in cricket, never mind in any format of cricket, to keep going back to the well every 2 days to bowl intense spells of 4 overs. I think that's catching up. I think also Holder is catching up. I think the fact that they didn't have that new ball bowler in the last couple of games, which I think has been massively evident because of Butler getting 50 in both games and Salt getting 100 in both games. I think that is something where England have capitalised on, and I also think England have found that formula at the top of the order, which gives them the base, the concrete base, to the likes of Livingston to come and play the way he has done in the last couple of games. So I think all in that, when you talk about momentum or the shift, and just look at little key areas that the West Indies have really struggled, possibly because they've had games in short space of times and their aging bodies are getting older, and England are starting to sort of get their ducks in a row and find out which is the best formula to have.
Let's head out to the middle. Sam Ellars with the West Indies skipper Rovman Powell.
Yeah, pretty difficult. You know, it was an exhibition of 6-it and an exhibition of pure power from the English guys. You know, but it was good to watch. You know, it's just unfortunate that it was against us.
Is there anything you can do though in that situation if you were to do it all again? Anything you could have done differently?
I think, to be honest, we could have done a few things differently. We didn't, for the second game in a row, we didn't go to our change-ups, to our cutters, to our yorkers. You know, and for the second game in a row, that let us down.
and then with the bat, the intent was pretty simple, wasn't it? Was it as simple as from ball one, we're going to try and hit every ball for 6 if we're to get close to this?
Yeah, definitely. If you're going to get close to 260 in a T20 game, you have to go helter-skelter from ball 1 or ball 2. But having said that, the guys made a good attempt. If it was 230, I think we could have got it.
Does this now give your side a real challenge to show a little bit of character, to be 2 up, 2-2? Do you guys have to really regroup now and go again? And what would you look to say to your boys in the next couple of days?
Yeah, just proper execution. I think the energy today was pretty flat. But Thursday provides an opportunity for us to get it right.
And just for you on a personal level, an IPL contract today, that always must be a pretty proud moment for you, given the size of the competition. And you went for a few quid as well, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of hard work have been put in behind closed doors. A lot of hard work put in international cricket, and it's good to see it's paying dividends now.
Yes, Sam Ellis speaking with Rovman Powell, the West Indies captain, following their 75-run defeat against England. A defeat which has... it means they're set up absolutely beautifully. The one-day series, 1-1 going into that final match, and now the T20 series, 2 apiece going into the final game, which we were bringing you here on talkSPORT 2 on Thursday night. We get underway at 5 p.m. and also on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. We're getting a bit of clog in the chat box. There's some people not too happy at some of the commentary. They think that possibly we were celebrating the England win a little bit too much.
We could not have celebrated West Indies batting anymore. It was one of the most entertaining things we have ever seen.
Exactly. Thank you, Jared.
And I'm Australian, so I take great offence at that.
You must have dual nationality.
No, just Australian.
Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, and also I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll talk to lawyers later.
Okay. Anyway, Phil Salt has been named the player of the match in darkness. For the second game in a row. How impressed have you been, by the way? He didn't have a day to remember behind the stumps. He was on keeping duty in place of Jos Buttler. But Michelle's talking about momentum. I'm not sure I believe in momentum, but I do believe in confidence. And Phil Salt today looked like a confident cricketer.
Yeah, he did. Form and confidence is huge when you're going in. You're seeing the ball the size of as what Phil Salt is when he's batting. Didn't quite see it when he was keeping, but I thought somebody might have done him a favour and took the gloves off him. Whether there was obviously a decision made right at the top, but having spent the time he did, I think that showed in his keeping. But 40, 25, 109, 119 so far in this series, I think that's a great return from somebody who was playing for his place in the World Cup, from somebody who probably had the sort of the pressure on the shoulders of getting into this 2020 team. Now Jason Roy and Alex Hales and all these big hitters of previous years and successful years have gone. I think for me he's really come of age in the last couple of games, and we said that during the 50 overs competition, and the job of needing a big strike rate in the power play, not bothered if you go on, has now turned into the all-round package that has got the big strike rate. He goes through the power play, and now he's learning how to go on. And for me, as a young player, you only have to do it once, and you realise what it takes. This is my big bugbear about a lot of young bowlers learning how to get 5 wickets in first-class cricket when they go into test matches. Because if you learn how to get 4, 5, 6 and 7 wickets, I'm just speaking from a bowler's point of view, then when it comes to the next time, it becomes easier and it becomes easier. And all of a sudden, Phil Salt has gone from 40 off 20 balls and talked about as somebody who has got a huge amount of potential with a great strike rate, short innings, to then go and getting 100 or 50, 109 or 56 balls. And then realising, wow, I can do this. I know how to do this. I know how to go from 40 to 60. I know how to go from 60 to 100. And he's done it again. And for me, that is brilliant. 2 highlights so far in this tour from a young player's point of view. Because take Adil Rashid out of it because he's brilliant. But Rian Ahmed for me and Phil Salt in this series have really showed that the England selectors, that their performance has gone that just one level above.
It's real nitpicking. But Jared, we're not going to see John Turner now, are we?
It does bother me a little bit. I know it's a silly thing, but that we said at the start of the show, I don't know what their theory is. I don't think they've played the best side, and I don't think they've experimented that much. So I kind of feel a little bit, maybe awkward is wrong, but just like, well, do they know exactly what they wanted to get out of this series? And maybe they came in wanting the best side, then they lost anyway, so they tried something else. But yeah, I don't know what Jon Norman looks like. He could be in this room right now, for all I know.
I know what he looks like because we had him on the Cricket Collective just before he went out. He's a lovely young man, little lad who speaks, very, very quietly, who's got huge potential when it comes to bowling. But to you, Jared, and the point you've just made there, do you think during the 3 ODIs in the first 2 T20s, where you've just described the England selection, do you think that's the way England have played as well, up until these last 2 games?
You mean just Messi?
Just Messi, yeah. Just not knowing what they're trying to do, or not knowing what game plans they're trying to do, not executing the plan because they're not sure, is this the right way to go?
I think Monty said it best, that like they didn't become a bad team. Like they went into the World Cup second favourite, right? And suddenly, obviously, they've lost all these games, and I understand all of that, but I don't see a lot wrong with the way they've been playing. It's more a combination of they had some weaknesses and they had some bad form, and this looked more like the England that we had always seen, right? And I know it's still there, and even during that World Cup, I was still sort of waiting for it to come together. And we talk about how many games does your team is Newcastle? How many games Newcastle play? 39 games a year?
38 games a season.
So they play 38 games. I follow the Denver Nuggets. They play 82 games. We go Major League Baseball. It's more again, right? We look at these little form dips as, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. But actually, a World Cup isn't that many games. There's nothing wrong with the way that England were going into it strategically before. It's just that none of their batters made any runs, right? Yeah. And sometimes that's the hardest thing when you're working with your cricket side. You would have done this before, where you look around the change room and you've got, Divanuto and Chandrapal and David Boone and whatever, and Durham's losing, and you're like, how are we not making any runs? Look at this lineup.
Yeah, I get that. And to go on and to follow on from your point and to pick up on what you've been saying in a way that the England's World Cup side went away from what their plan A was for 6.5, 7 years, when Milan went in to open the batting for 6 months. And now you look at the last 2 games, the way England have performed and the way England have played, you'd say, Jared, they've gone back to what makes them the great side, which is the power at the top, having somebody in the middle order that can hold the innings together, and then being explosive at the end. That's what England. So for me, it's not about the player, it's about the plan. And it's about the execution of the plan. And I think for 6 months before the World Cup, and then into that the 3 T20s, so the 3 one-day series that's been here, I think the execution of the plan has completely changed to what made England the great side.
The minute Milan was not batting at number 4, which he should have been doing to replace Morgan if they wanted to follow their old template, I think you're right. And if you look at this, they have certainly gone back to what we think of as the best of English T20 cricket, right? And they're playing better cricket. Mash is about to come on and say that the West Indies are not very good.
No. But I am about to throw a spanner in the works here, because when everybody comes to listen to Game 5 live and exclusive on talkSPORT, when they do that, say West Indies win that game, does everything you two have just said become redundant if West Indies win that game? So I can have my West Indies perspective of what's gone on in this series, and if West Indies were to suddenly win, everyone's going to try and twist the narrative to, it's coming along nicely, Sammy's got a plan, so on and so forth. If England were to lose, are you going to tweak some of what you're saying?
Not for me, if the West Indies play better cricket than England. For me, at this minute in time, England have played the way they should be playing. And they started in the first game where you say the batting was nearly there. They got to the second game, and you could argue that they didn't have the plan that they had for games 3 and games 4. For me, the reason why England haven't performed in this series was largely down to the ball. But I want England to have the plan to bat the way they've batted in these 20 overs in the last 2 games, and stick to that game plan. The game plan it's not the player, it's the game plan. And if the game plan works, then England have got far too many good players to blow everybody away, because they've proven that recently. I just think when the confidence is not there, whether you say confidence, momentum or form, whatever, And whenever the second doubt that, then all of a sudden they don't become the dominant side that they should be. But West Indies play well, yeah. Hats off, the best team wins, and the best team did win them first 2 games.
I think if you look at the difference here, these are both flawed teams, as you know more than anyone, right? We know that England is flawed on the ball, so they have to make up for that with the bat. And what we've seen in the last 2 games is them going all out to that old style of, we're going to make 30 runs or 20% more than par. Good luck trying to make 20% more than par against us. We both know they could fail in the next game. They could be bowled out for 80, and we've seen England do that before. If you go back to the World Cup, they were going out chipping the ball around. They weren't putting any pressure back on anyone, right? You look at the way that Phil Salt and Josh Buttler have been bowling in this. They've put so much pressure back on West Indies. And even the other game when they, was it the second game when they failed? At times they were putting pressure back on the West Indies again in that particular one. You look at that middle spell when Sam Curran came in and started hitting the ball back, and Moeen Ali had to go. It's that putting that pressure back on, which is what has England at a period where this is what the other teams tell me: we can't score at their rate if they're going in 5th gear.
MV says, Mash, have we got any hope? Sir? Sir?
It's a way of saying sir.
Sir. Can the West Indies win the decider? No, there's a no. Peter Sumner says, excellent commentary, guys. Whilst Mash tries to work out how he does believe that West Indies can win, let's hear from Phil Salt, who's with Sam Emery as my friend. Sam Ellard, as is Sam Ellard.
Phil, another day, another 100, a second T20 International 100 in the space of a couple of days. How proud are you of another pretty incredible achievement, Phil?
Yeah, I'm very happy. Obviously I'm more happy that it contributed to a win. We're 2-0 down the series to pull it back to 2-2. I feel like we're really hitting our stride now, and it gives the boys a lot of confidence and momentum to take into the decider.
Talk me through your innings though. Did you feel $1 million after your innings the other day? Does it feel like the ball was looking like a beach ball? Did you feel in great touch right from the off after yesterday?
Probably not, to be honest. It was a little bit, the first ball that forward bowled me hit the splice of my bat pretty hard. I thought, this wicket might be slightly different. But once myself and Josh got through that sort of tricky a couple of overs with the new ball, and it just sort of flattened out a little bit, and we realised that we could stick a good partnership on them.
I know you've got on to convert to hundreds, but another day, another 50 for the captain. You put on 100 again for that first wicket partnership. They say strong Manchester original, strong England. How much are you enjoying that relationship with Josh at the top?
I think it's strong Lanc, strong England.
Well, both really, no? And Livy as well with Lancashire, fair enough.
You saw Livy today, so Lanky boys are doing it. Yeah, no, it's good batting with him. It's good playing with somebody familiar. I'm quite lucky in the ODIs. I've got Jaxie at the top, who I know well play with in South Africa, and I've got Joss, who I play with at Lancs and Manchester Originals and here. So it's a big advantage to have an opening partner who I know his game inside out, and vice versa, and it gives you a lot of stability.
You said to me in Barbados, you feel as if you've got another couple of extra gears to go to as an England batsman. You feel like you've left a lot of runs out there in the last year or so. So how proud have you been, not just to get those good starts, but also, really push on, especially in a time when there's a World Cup 6 months away?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that international cricket is not an easy ride when you first jump in, and there's a learning curve that you've got to respect, and I feel like I've done that. I've got my head down, I've worked hard, and I've really used the tools around me. So hopefully this can become more of a regular occurrence.
And the big question everybody's asking today on social media is, how on earth did Phil Salt not get an IPL contract?
It was a confusing morning, to say the least. That's all I'll say.
Were you following it?
I followed the last bit. Ducky had it up on his iPad, so we had a look at that. But it was good. A lot of our lads got picked up, which was good.
I know you just won a game of cricket for England, but were you disappointed today, or is it kind of just part and parcel of being franchise cricket? Sometimes you get picked, sometimes you don't.
It's part and parcel of it, with auctions and drafts and that sort of a process. It can be a lottery at times, and for some people it's worked out. I was talking to Riley Rousseau today. It's going to be a very good Christmas round his house. He's in the same
next
boat.
Time, beers are on him next time you see him, yeah?
Absolutely, I've told him that. But it's part and parcel of the lottery that it is.
And just finally, we know it's been a tough couple of months for the boys. You've executed your skills well, but the fight that you guys have shown is 2-2 going into the last game. How proud are you of all the fight you guys have shown after a tricky couple of months? There's a lot about the character of this team, right?
So proud. We've got bags of character in that dressing room. It's not been easy. Obviously been on the wrong end of a few results, and then the schedule. It's not as easy as it can look sometimes from the outside for this group to pull together in the way that we have. Now we've got a decider to look forward to in a couple of days' time. So I take my hat off to the rest of the boys.
Sam Ellard with Phil Salt, the player of the match, who ended up with 119, the highest score in England's T20 history. And copyright to Matt Roller for that comment about a strong Manchester Originals, strong England. Guys, we're just about to wrap up here on talkSPORT 2 and on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. A quick word about your thoughts looking to that final match, which is of course the decider. Machel, you've had a couple of minutes to collect, compose and come up with a reasoning why West Indies will win that game.
They will chase. That's inevitably what they will try to do, and they just have to try and take wickets. Ultimately, if West Indies can find a way to take wickets in the power play, I think they win. If they can get into England and take 2 or 3 wickets up front, then I think England are put under pressure from there, and West Indies will win the series 3-2.
Gerard?
Yeah, it's been a messy series, so I'm not sure I would put my money on either side. England were quite short today, I thought. They've obviously gone on to play very well, but I don't think there's as much between these sides. They're very, very weak. So I don't know. Based on the law of averages, I'd go with the West Indies just for fun.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you can predict what's going to happen. I think both sides have made mistakes and have gone from confident side to non-confident side, and they've gone vice versa. So from that point of view, I think the team that is in the ascendancy is England, so I'm going to back England and back my boys.
Thank you very much. Steve Harmison, Jarrod Kimber, Machel St Patrick Hewitt, and also Monty Panesar will be back with the big man Alex Tudor for live and exclusive coverage of that decider. We get underway at 7:30 on talkSPORT 2, so make sure you join us then.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.